What it do, what it do, what it do. Peace, shalom, hotel. Salam alaikum. Hello, bonjour. You hear me? Osio. All that good stuff. How everybody doing? I hope everybody radiating, vibrate, operate, emanate, being the highest demonstration of your best self at this particular point in time. Feeling good for no reason at all while you do it, you hear me? I'm feeling great right now. Just came through for a little a moment, you hear me? Share some of these downloads. It's gonna make sense to who it makes sense to, you hear me? If it don't fit, don't force it, you heard? But it should speak to somebody in some type of way, shape and form, you hear me? And if it's meant for you, you'll know it, you know? It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have another day, you know, alive in the flesh on this side of things. You hear me? Somebody didn't make it somewhere today and rise in power to those who didn't. You hear me? But if you here, that's not the case for you. You hear me? Breath by breath, step by step, and piece by piece. You hear me? And if you weren't listening, you probably just missed that. I said piece by piece. You hear me? We got two gifts or curses, depending on how we use them. Or we got two healings or two diseases, depending on how we use them. You hear me? That source God gave us, as well as we gave ourselves, you hear me? Because we all come from source, you hear me? My mother and father are one, you hear me? But that we gave ourselves amongst all living things that we could use to be more aware of, to lighten the load. To lighten, when I say lighten the load, to lighten the load of the experience that we be having, you know, in this journey from the human being to the divine being in human form, you know, while we here. And that's our mind and our communication, you know. That's our mind and our communication. Our mind and our communication. You hear me? And or speech, conversation, you know. And I emphasize that for a reason. But I say that because those two gifts are more important than anything that we can materially possess. And that's due to the fact of what's after here. You know, and being in human form and the experiences that we have, and the things that society project upon us from the time that we come here. You feel me? You know, it's easy to get caught up in what's external and lose touch to what's internal, you know. But as I was saying, due to the fact of what's after here, you know, when in further words, when we transition into our hereafter, you know, at the appointed time, place, and situation we made or an agreement to, or we signed a contract to, you know, upon the time that we came, upon the time before we came here, you know, the time before. You got the hereafter and then the time before. How many of us remember our time before? The incarnation, you know. But neither here nor there. You can do that on your own time. But in most cases, we forgot once we got here. If we did remember, we most of us forgot once we got here. And if you're not one of those ones that didn't forget, then I should be talking to you. You hear me? But in most cases, we forgot once we got here. And out of the most, many get tricked out of their divinity, you know, and possessed by the lower self, the lower self divinity. Cause all parts of self is divine. It's just how we operating in it. You hear me? And out of the many, a majority gonna sell their soul, spirit, life force, whatever you want to call it, you know, for the bag, solely for the purpose of acquiring material things. And Not, and I don't say that uh, to discredit, materiality. You hear me? Cause that's how we gotta have this experience. If we in a human body, we gotta have this experience in material form, meaning flesh. But and I don't say that to the point that we're not supposed to want material things. We're not supposed. I don't say that to the point that we're not supposed to want luxurious items or have nice things. You hear me? But not to the point that I'm willing to sell my soul for it, to sell my divine birthright for it. I don't want it that bad. You hear me? And but what I am saying is that do all you can not to lose yourself in pursuit of materiality. Do all you can not to lose yourself, not to disconnect from yourself. To materiality once you get it. You hear me? And because the proof all around us. If you're looking for proof, it's proof all around us already for those who have. We see it all the time. But I say that because it's important that we really know what's really guiding us. What's really guiding us. What's really guiding us. What's good in you. what's bad in you. Cause both of them it's part of the wholeness. You hear me? And not get lost outside. Not get lost outside, cause ain't nothing out there. ain't nothing out there, and it's easy to get lost outside, and lose touch within oneself. But we hear the term life and death, and is in the power of the tongue, and it is. You hear me? So if we can learn to use those two gifts, those two endowments, our mind, meaning our mind, back to our mind and our communication, a little bit more wisely, as my shirt implies. Choose your battles wisely. You hear me? Because it is a spiritual war, But the spiritual war, is only about balance. It's not necessarily good versus evil. It's about the integration of good and evil, and overstanding, coming to an overstanding of good and evil, or darkness and light, or the ego and the shadow. You hear me? It's all necessary. But if we could use those endowments more wisely and correctly while we're here, see, it'll make the journey a whole lot more easier, a lot more smoother. In the now, in the right now, and from that space, we will truly be no different than the gods, the angels, the ascended masters, the cosmic and divine beings, our ancestors who has risen to the higher ranks. You hear me? And the immortals, of the highest order. You hear me? That came before us, and some gonna come and some gonna come and do, hopefully, gonna see what we doing. For those of us who doing the work, some gonna come after us and exceed what we doing, and rightfully so. You hear me? You hear me? Rightfully so. You hear me? We should always want those that come after us to take it where we ain't take it to. You hear me? So I'm giving it all I got. This in this generational wealth that I'm passing down, by way of this information, by way of these messages, and this communication, in the way that I use my mind to make sure that we have no excuses. You hear me? Whether you on my family line or not, or somebody else's. You hear me? But yeah, that's the mission. And what we here to figure out. Generational wealth ain't gonna always be materialistically involved. You know, it's information that holds generational wealth. Because as y'all done heard me say before, I ain't seen or heard nothing that I was given and the purpose of my assignment while I'm on the planet Earth, while I was here or since I've been here. You see, so it's an honor for me to have it in my DNA and be able to access it and share it and pass it on, for those who are able to contain it and carry it. You hear me? Yeah, it's just like that though. I share the things I do and I reveal the things I do in hopes that somebody listening do the same. While you here, while I'm here. So you could be the one to say you ain't seen or heard, because you used your opportunity while you was here. You hear me? And rather you see or heard may just depend on your ability while you here, your capacity while you here. You heard? At the level that you able to do it. You hear me? And part of that gonna do it having a willingness to go where others not willing to go. Part of that gonna have a lot to do with having a willingness to speak to things that people not willing to speak to. Part of that gonna have a lot to do with dealing with your shadow aspect, integrating your shadow aspect, healing your shadow aspect, balancing your shadow aspect, and raising up your shadow aspect with the light aspect part of yourself, that others ain't willing to do. And if not you, who? You hear me? And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go where others don't and won't in most cases within myself, and in order to get through to you, whoever you is, just to get through to you, I'm willing to do that. You hear me? So there's a strength in vulnerability. There's a strength in self-expression. You hear me? There's healing in it too. You heard? This is source knowledge, and I say that because if death don't exist and it's only illusion, why so many people moving around from a place of fear, envy, anger, jealousy, glutton, greed, lust, grudges, malice, you hear me? Competition, and hate, just to name a few. If death don't exist, why so many people moving around in those things I just named, which all result back to fear. If you in any one of those, fear is the root of it. It's the root cause. All those vices I just named. You hear me? That we here to rise above. People so willingly willing to move in them, like that's the thing to do, like that's the thing to be. You can see it in anywhere that you tap into, where internet is involved. You can see it, and it's not about seeing it that I stress that the way I do. It's about what are we willing to learn from it by recognizing what it shows us about ourselves. You hear me? What are we willing to learn from it? Those who operate in it, what are we willing to learn from it? That reveal us to us. You hear me? And give us an opportunity, to integrate some of those aspects that we see others moving around in and ourselves uh, in a more wholesome and healthy way. You hear me? Because just cause you ain't, just cause you may not be acting out how we see others acting out, don't mean that it ain't in you. You see, and I don't speak from a space of inclusion, cause I'm here in flesh with y'all. You hear me? But the difference is I'm willing to work through it. You know, I'm willing to work through it. You hear me? And put myself on the front line so I don't be behind. You hear me? And I hope you do too. Um, but yeah, all those things are meant to get us to self mastery, and by being able to recognize them, self mastery, um, mental, meaning mental, emotional, as well as physical discipline. You know, and I don't know about y'all, but uh, while I'm here, while I'm here, you know, I'm while I'm here and as I'm here, you know, I'm here to be an immortal. You hear me? Um, so the question is, what are you gonna do with your life? What are you doing with your life? What are you here for through the life that you living? Cause I'm here to be immortal. You know, how will you be remembered? If you've been around, you don't heard these questions before in another form. You know, what are you doing when nobody watching? You know, I'm here to be an immortal. You hear me? Uh, because if you here present with me in this moment, whatever you done don't matter as much as what you doing now. In the moments that you do have and will proceed to have, as long as you have a wake up. As long as you have a wake up tomorrow, you know, it ain't about what you done, it's what you could do to make it better. You hear me? Whatever you done don't matter no more than what was required to get you on the other side of these words, to hear what's being said to you right now. You know, and with that being said, that means you have an opportunity to do something you ain't never did before. You have an opportunity to see something possibly in yourself that you ain't never seen before, or maybe just didn't recognize. You know, and 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 do something truly different. Do something truly better. You know, in a way that you wasn't willing to before. You know, beautifully and magically, you know, and divinely so. You hear me? And I'm moved in the honor. I'm moved with the honor of just being a mirror, if not a reflection, because I'm gonna be a mirror to some and a reflection to others, and both the even others, you know. But I'm really moved to be a mirror of that in any which way that I can, you know. But be you how you be you, whatever the case may be. Be you how you be you. You hear me? And be the best that you could be. I ain't come through to stay long. I just came through to say a few things, you know. Once again, make my presence felt, you know. Encourage us to live our best life, you know. From a different perspective than we may have been previously, you know. Live our best life from a healed space that we may have been previously, you know. And like I say, be better than we never been. Cause if not you, who? You know. And you're gonna need to know what's guiding you. you know. You know what's guiding you, what's God in you, what's good in you. You hear me? And balance it with all that other stuff. And like I say, don't get lost outside. You know, don't get lost outside. Don't get lost out there and lose touch within. You know, as co-creators, we understand that creation and transformation is all there is. Is all there was and all that will ever be. And as I said before, if nothing dies, it's all an illusion, because energy cannot be destroyed. So if energy cannot be destroyed because it cannot be created, then ain't no opportunity like now to use it, to make the proper use of it, to make the best use of it, from one form to another, as we change forms. Transformation from one form to another. Ain't no better opportunity than now to use it. If you're a microcosm that reflect the macrocosm, aka as above, so below, as within, so without, then you get it. You get it. You get it. You understand. You comprehend. And hopefully you demonstrate instead of just quoting or regurgitating. You demonstrating. We should be able to see. If you got heaven in you, then people should be able to see that reflected in your life. If you got, because we here on hell. So if heaven in you, then we should be able to see that reflected in our lives in some kind of way, shape, or form. You shouldn't be the topic of conversation that you used to be. It should be some kind of change, some kind of transformation, in your formation, by the work that you have done since you've been here. And if you do all you could do by the work that you do while you here, you also able to see who brought hell here with them. And that applied to me. Heaven and hell can't when I came, heaven and hell came with me. If you don't listen, you're gonna miss it. You hear me? So I had to make a choice. And that's the point of what I'm saying. We all got a choice. And if you ain't changing it, you choosing it. You hear me? If you ain't changing it, you choosing it. You hear me? And depending on how many rotations necessary for you to come back to you and keep coming back to you till you get the job done, till hopefully we may not have to come back here no more, who knows? You hear me? That's probably what it'll be, Otherwise, salute to all of us who chose this life, you hear me, to come here and get back to our highest estate possible while we here through this present embodiment, you hear me? Through this present embodiment of experience. Salute to all of us who came here and was willing to put in all the work that we can, go through whatever we had to go through in this present embodiment to get it done while we here. Because it's easy to think we're alive because we living. But when we die, while we here, while you alive, it's a totally different life experience. If you don't listen, you're going to miss it. But it's all going to reflect back to who are you when nobody watching, And I'm going to repeat that because I know it sounded tricky. It's easy to think that we're alive because we're living. But when we die while we're alive, we live. Not only do we live forever. See? And never in the history of ever, have we seen what we got an opportunity to do, be done while we here. You hear me? I don't care who they wrote about before us, that we get an opportunity to do what never been done in the history ever while we here. You hear me? But it's going to all reflect back to who are you when nobody watching, And it's just how Source talk to me. You hear me? To talk to y'all. You hear me? And it's just my point of view, and my point of view might not apply to you. Like I say, my way ain't gonna work for everybody, But there's some people that this fuck. You hear me? And with that being said, man, be everywhere at once and nowhere at all. You hear me? Be everywhere at once and nowhere at all. cause you everywhere at one. You hear me? From me to you. There's no me without you. You hear me? So it's possible in the world of impossibility, cause I'm possible, and so are you. You hear me? Stillness, abundance, love, light, health, and wholeness. To the Cosmic Content family and soul tribe. Salute to the new subscribers. Salute to the peekaboos and passerbys. You hear me? As I said, if I'm doing it, so can you. You hear me? Feel good for no reason at all. You know? So forth and so on. Thanks for the likes, shares, comments, questions if you got them. You hear me? Purchases, donations. You heard? Till we do it again. I'm known as Sabu. Be you how you be you. Peace, family.